Hey guys, welcome back. This is David, and today I am in my closet with terrible lighting because I don't want to be out in my backyard talking about this subject that you see in the title of the video. And my camera in my studio camera is being used for a church directory, so I can't use that right now. And I don't want to be in my backyard where my neighbors can hear me talking about this because it's kind of a taboo subject. So I'm in this room because it has the best acoustics in my house. But we're talking about masturbation. Um, and this is a very taboo subject to where if you saw the title of this video, you were maybe saving it to watch when you were by yourself instead of watching this in public where the word masturbation will be said multiple times and people walking by are going to wonder what you're watching, what you're doing. Um, it's a taboo subject. It's something it's kind of awkward to talk about. But it is something that people have a question about in Christianity. And when you look at Google searches, it's one of those questions that are typed in a lot about Christianity. Is masturbation a sin? And so we're covering that question right now for you. And I am handling this awkward question, but I'm by myself right now in this room with you watching. So there's that. And then I'm going to put it out in public so everybody else can watch it. So I guess it's going to reach a wide audience. But anyways, is masturbation a sin? It's kind of like money. Where money in itself isn't a sin, but the love of money is a sin. Masturbation in itself, when we look at scripture, doesn't seem to be a sin. And immediately, some of you are like, whoa, 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 whoa. There's that one story in the Old Testament, Genesis 38, 8 through 10, with Onan, who spills his seed on the ground. And so people will say, well, the action of masturbation isn't a sin, but the spilling of the seed is. But you got to read that story in Genesis 38 and keep it into context there. Onan was a kinsman redeemer of his brother. And the way kinsman redeemers work is if a male that they're related to in the family passes away without a male heir, without giving birth to a son, then another male in the family would be the kinsman redeemer and had the responsibility of coming in, sleeping with that wife who is now a widow and providing an heir for the male that had passed away. And that was Onan's job. His brother had passed away, so he had a duty as a kinsman redeemer to provide an heir for his brother's wife, who was a widow, and that would be so that the land and all the possessions would stay in the same family there. Um, that you're thinking, man, that's kind of a weird cultural thing to do, but it was meant to keep the land in the same family, and also, the ladies in the family would be taken care of because that was the male's job to, even whether it was a son or a husband, take care of the mom or wife, or the ladies provide for them, protect them, those kind of things. And so that was God making sure that land stayed in the same family and that the ladies in the family were taken care of as well. But when you read the context of that story, first off, there is no masturbation that's happening. Onan slept with his brother's wife, and then he pulled out and spilled his seed on the ground, and then he was put to death. But he wasn't put to death because he spilled his seed on the ground. He was put to death because he wasn't fulfilling his purpose as a kinsman redeemer. And so that is not a story telling us that masturbation is a sin. And we don't really have many other verses in the Bible that indicate anything that masturbation in itself is a sin. But here's the thing, and this is where I had to restart this video a few times as I try to communicate this. I can't speak for everyone, but I would imagine, or I would wager, I would guess that when people are masturbating, and I don't really want to think about this as much, okay? Honestly, again, taboo subject, and I just don't want to think about this much. But when people are masturbating, they aren't thinking about the sky being blue or a good tasting steak. Usually, what's happening when people are masturbating is that they are thinking about someone else. They are thinking about a scene. In essence, they are lusting. And although masturbation doesn't seem to be a sin in scripture, lusting is. In Matthew chapter 5:28, Jesus tells he's resetting the bar, because in that culture, then when it came to adultery, everybody would be walking around and they would be lusting after someone visually. They'd be looking at them, checking them out, maybe daydreaming about them a little bit. But because they weren't crossing the line of committing adultery, they would say they were fine. But then Jesus comes, he's like, no, 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 no. Even if you're thinking about them in a lustful manner in your mind, it is like you are committing adultery with them. And so Jesus reset the bar and brought it back, not just to the physical action out in the real world that people might be able to see, but he went to the part where people wouldn't be able to see, your thought life. And he's saying, if you are lusting over ladies, or if you're, a lady lusting over guys or whatever, you are sinning. It's essentially, you're doing the same thing as actually going out and sleeping with them. And so when it comes to masturbation, I wager that the majority of the time, someone, when they're masturbating, is thinking about someone else in a lustful manner, and that's where the sin comes in. And so then the question becomes, okay, what if you're able, and I don't even know, this might be impossible. I don't even know if this is possible, but what if you have no thought in your mind while you're masturbating? Is that okay? It seems, again, looking at scripture, again, like money, masturbation itself doesn't seem to be a sin. It's just usually what accompanies it. But that doesn't mean that you should, because I feel like people who are watching this, there's gonna be some that are gonna be like, oh, well, maybe let me see if I can do that. And so they'll try it, but at the time, like when they're going to go experiment with that, they walk into sin because they try it and they're not able to do it, and so they sin, and so their experiment leads them to sin. Don't even try it. Okay, don't even experiment with it, just for the risk of it leading you to sin by thinking lustfully of someone. So is masturbation itself a sin? It doesn't seem to be in scripture. It's what accompanies it. It's what feeds it or makes it so enjoyable. That seems to be the sin, when you lust after someone as you are masturbating. Yeah. Oh, and I'm trying to think, is there, when it comes to this question, is there any other nuances? Oh, what about like in marriage? If this is so awkward. If you're married and your partner pleasures you in that way, is that a sin? Again, marriage is again, I haven't said this yet, but marriage is a gift from God where sexual stuff like that is allowed. God has blessed that in marriage. So when you're married and you're doing it, and you're enjoying your spouse, that seems to be okay. There's the boundaries of marriage where sex is good. Sex is a pleasure that God has given us, and the things of sex, God has given us these things to bless us and help us enjoy life, enjoy our spouse. So if you're, and then, oh, this is so awkward. I just thought of another thing. So what if you're married and you're masturbating and you're thinking about your wife then? Again, you're allowed to lust after your wife in that sense. So trying to think quickly about scripture. I don't think there would be any restriction on that if you're thinking about your wife or your husband when masturbating. But again, like, why not just have sex? Since you're married, go have sex. Go have sex. Don't solo it. Go have sex. You have your partner there, and you're called in scripture to fulfill each other's sexual needs in marriage. So go have sex. So is masturbation a sin? In itself, no. Usually what you're thinking about can be. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done recording. This is hopefully you got your answer. Go study it some more yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.